Listen closely. This is where weak men get offended and strong men get reborn. You are not here to improve. You are here to mutate. Because the world doesn't reward the man who wants. It rewards the man who can walk away. The first rule of strength is simple. Never chase. Not a woman, not a friend, not attention, not approval, not an apology. Chasing is begging in motion. It's you announcing, without words, I need you more than you need me. And the moment you reveal need, you hand your throat to the world. You become predictable. You become steerable. You become owned. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology put it into soft language. Whoever controls access controls the game. So today, you take an oath. You stop running after what runs from you. You stop auditioning for people who didn't earn a front row seat to your life. You stop over-explaining, over-giving, over-texting, over-proving. From this moment on, you move like a man with options, even if you're building them from dust. You don't chase because your value is not a question. You don't chase because your time is not free. You don't chase because your attention is currency, and you don't throw currency at strangers to feel chosen. Here's the truth most men can't swallow. The one who chases loses the frame, and the one who loses the frame loses himself. So you will become the man who stays centered, the man who speaks less and means more, the man who doesn't lean forward when the world leans back. You will want things, yes, but you will never need them. Need is the crack where manipulation enters, and you're done being controlled through your cravings. This is your code now. Calm posture, clear standards, ruthless self-respect. If they want you, they come closer. If they don't, you keep walking, without anger, without drama, without explanation. That is how a man becomes untouchable. Hunger control, the end of neediness. Your enemy is not rejection. Your enemy is the hunger inside you that makes rejection feel like death. That hunger is why men chase, not because they love too deeply, but because they need too loudly. Neediness is not romance. It is a craving for relief. It is the anxious mind begging for a signal, a reply, a smile, a good job, so it can finally breathe. And anyone who can control your breathing can control your behavior. That is the dark truth. If a person can make you restless with silence, they can make you obedient with a crumb. This is how weak men get trained. Reward, withdrawal, reward, withdrawal. A simple psychological loop. A leash disguised as chemistry. So the code of strength begins with hunger control. You don't kill desire. You master it. You learn to want without shaking, to feel attraction without losing posture, to feel pressure without becoming desperate. Because the moment you need something, attention, reassurance, sex, validation, you stop thinking clearly. You start bargaining. You start compromising. You start performing. And performance is slavery. Niccolo Machiavelli's realism wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. Men are moved by fear and hope. If your hope is uncontrolled, people will sell you illusions. If your fear is uncontrolled, people will threaten you with abandonment. So you train the muscle of emotional fasting. You delay gratification on purpose. You let messages sit. You let feelings rise and fall without obeying them. You stop treating every desire like an emergency. You replace impulse with policy. You replace craving with standards. When you feel the itch to chase, you pause and ask one cold question. If I do this, am I acting from power or from withdrawal? Then you choose the move that keeps your spine intact. Control your hunger and you control your life. Because the man who can sit in discomfort without reacting becomes terrifyingly free. He doesn't panic, he doesn't plead, he doesn't rush. He doesn't fold under the pressure of his own emotions, and once you stop needing, you stop being easy to manipulate. That's when people feel your presence differently, not louder, heavier, like a door that can close at any time. You don't ask to be chosen. A man who chases is a man who submits to someone else's frame. He lives inside their timing, their moods, their rules. He waits for permission to feel confident, and that is not love. That is dependency wearing a suit. The code of strength is the opposite. You don't ask to be chosen. You decide what you allow. You decide what you tolerate. You decide who gets access, because the strongest power is not aggression, it's authority over your own life. Niccolo Machiavelli understood the mechanics of control. Whoever sets the terms shapes the outcome. In modern words, this is frame. Frame is the invisible structure of how things work. And most men lose it by trying to be liked. They soften their standards. They over-explain. They negotiate against themselves. They accept disrespect just to keep a connection alive. Then they wonder why nobody respects them. Respect is not begged for. It is enforced through consistency. So here is your rule. Your attention is not automatic. Your time is not unlimited. Your energy is not free. People earn access by behavior, not by promises, not by beauty, not by status, not by sob stories. If someone flakes, you don't lecture, you downgrade access. If someone disrespects you, you don't argue, you withdraw presence. If someone tests your boundaries, you don't get emotional. You get precise, calm, short, final. You don't need dramatic speeches. A door closes quietly. That's how real power moves. And don't confuse frame with arrogance. Arrogance is noise. Frame is silence. It's you moving like your life matters. It's you being willing to lose people to keep yourself. Because a man who fears loss becomes controllable. A man who accepts loss becomes unshakable. So you stop playing the role of good guy, hoping it buys loyalty. It doesn't. Loyalty is earned through strength, direction, and consequence. Your frame says, this is the standard. This is the pace. This is the level. If they rise, they stay. If they don't, they fall away. No revenge, no bitterness, just evolution. When you stop asking to be chosen, you become the one who chooses, and the world feels that shift immediately. Emotional armor never breaks. You think strength is never feeling. That's a child's fantasy. Strength is feeling everything and still choosing your behavior like a disciplined man. The world will test you with rejection, with disrespect, with silence, with betrayal, with loss. And if your emotions drive the wheel, you will crash every time. This is why most men break. Not because life is too hard, but because they react like their pride is a fragile glass. They explode, they plead, they chase closure. They send the long message. They make the phone call they regret. They try to force a moment to end because they can't tolerate uncertainty. That is weakness, not sadness, not pain. Weakness is lack of control. Niccolo Machiavelli taught realism. People watch your reactions more than your words. Your reaction is your rank. The one who can be provoked is the one who can be controlled. So your code becomes emotional armor, not numbness. Armor. Armor means you can take a hit without bleeding out in public. You can absorb insult without volunteering your dignity. You can lose without begging. You can be misunderstood without performing. When pressure rises, your voice lowers. When chaos erupts, your pace slows. You become hard to read, not because you are hiding, but because you are governed. Governed men are rare. Most are ruled by appetite, pride, or fear. And here's the dark psychology. People test what they can move. If your mood swings with their attention, they will keep pulling the string. If your confidence collapses when they withdraw, they will keep withdrawing to watch you dance. So you stop giving them that show. You train yourself to sit in discomfort with a straight spine. You train delayed response. You train calm eyes. You train the pause. The pause is power, because in the pause, you choose. And when you choose, you stop being predictable. A man who never breaks is not a man who never hurts. He is a man who never leaks his power through emotional desperation. He bleeds in private. He rebuilds in silence. Then he returns with the same calm face. That is the armor. That is the code. That is how you become untouchable. Detachment as a weapon. Detachment is not coldness, it is control. It is the ability to keep your heart in your chest instead of handing it to whoever offers you a moment of warmth. Most men think walking away is losing. That belief is why they get trapped. They tolerate disrespect to keep access. They swallow their standards to keep a connection. They stay available so they won't be replaced. And that is exactly why they become replaceable. Niccolo Machiavelli understood the mechanics of leverage. The one who can leave holds power, because leaving is the final veto. Detachment is that veto kept loaded but quiet. You don't threaten it. You don't announce it. You simply live in a way where your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. Dark psychology makes it plain. People value what has boundaries and ignore what is always there. Constant availability teaches others that you have no life. Constant explaining teaches others that you have no authority. Constant forgiveness teaches others that consequences are fake, so you become disciplined in withdrawal. When they test you, you don't argue, you observe. When they disrespect you, you don't beg for fairness. You reduce access. When they play hot and cold, you don't chase heat. You step back into your own fire. This is not a game, this is a filter. Your detachment is the blade that cuts away the unserious. And here is the part weak men cannot do. You detach even when you want them. You detach even when your chest feels tight. You detach even when your ego wants to win the conversation, because winning the moment can cost you your frame. A man who explains himself to someone committed to misunderstanding him is not strong. He is negotiating his dignity. Your strength is simple. You do not require agreement to enforce a boundary. You do not require closure to move forward. You do not require permission to choose yourself. If they can't meet the standard, they don't get the version of you that is gentle, loyal, and full. They get distance, silence, absence, not as punishment, but as consequence. That is detachment as a weapon, calm, surgical, final. And once you can withdraw without hatred, you become dangerous in the best way. Impossible to manipulate, impossible to corner, impossible to own. You are present by choice, not need, and anyone who tries to control you meets a door. Detachment as a weapon. And detachment is not coldness, it is control. It is the ability to keep your heart in your chest instead of handing it to whoever offers you a moment of warmth. Most men think walking away is losing. That belief is why they get trapped. They tolerate disrespect to keep access. They swallow their standards to keep a connection. They stay available so they won't be replaced. And that is exactly why they become replaceable. Niccolo Machiavelli understood the mechanics of leverage. The one who can leave holds power, because leaving is the final veto. Detachment is that veto kept loaded but quiet. You don't threaten it, you don't announce it. You simply live in a way where your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. Dark psychology makes it plain. People value what has boundaries and ignore what is always there. Constant availability teaches others that you have no life. Constant explaining teaches others that you have no authority. Constant forgiveness teaches others that consequences are fake. So you become disciplined in withdrawal. When they test you, you don't argue, you observe. When they disrespect you, you don't beg for fairness. You reduce access. When they play hot and cold, you don't chase heat. You step back into your own fire. This is not a game. This is a filter. Your detachment is the blade that cuts away the unserious. And here is the part weak men cannot do. You detach even when you want them. You detach even when your chest feels tight. You detach even when your ego wants to win the conversation, because winning the moment can cost you your frame. A man who explains himself to someone committed to misunderstanding him is not strong. He is negotiating his dignity. Your strength is simple. You do not require agreement to enforce a boundary. You do not require closure to move forward. You do not require permission to choose yourself. If they can't meet the standard, they don't get the version of you that is gentle, loyal, and full. They get distance, silence, absence, not as punishment, but as consequence. That is detachment as a weapon, calm, surgical, final. And once you can withdraw without hatred, you become dangerous in the best way, impossible to manipulate, impossible to corner, impossible to own. You are present by choice, not need, and anyone who tries to control you meets a door. Discipline. your daily code of strength. A man who never folds is not built by motivation. He is built by policy. Motivation is weather. Discipline is architecture. And if you want to become untouchable, you need structure that does not care how you feel, because feelings change, pressure changes, people change, but a code is a code. Niccolo Machiavelli didn't preach comfort. He preached control. Control of circumstances, control of perception, control of outcomes. The modern translation is simple. You win your life in the boring hours, not in the dramatic moments, not in the speeches, in the repetition, in the quiet work nobody applauds. So your strength becomes daily, physical first. Your body is not vanity, it's a signal to yourself and to the world. You train when you don't want to because that is how you teach your nervous system who is in charge. You sleep like a professional. You eat like a man who respects his future. You stop poisoning your energy and calling it fun. Second, money and skill. A man with no leverage gets forced into chasing jobs, chasing people, chasing approval, because he has no options. Options are purchased through competence. You build a valuable skill stack. You improve one asset every day: your communication, your craft, your business sense, your ability to negotiate, your ability to execute. Quietly, consistently. Third, solitude. Most men fear being alone, so they attach to noise, they attach to people, they attach to drama. But solitude is where your frame gets reinforced. Solitude is where you become honest about what you tolerate and why. You learn to enjoy your own company, and that is the moment you stop chasing others for emotional oxygen. Now here's the hard rule. Standards are not real if they don't cost you something. If your standards collapse the first time you feel lonely, you don't have standards. You have preferences. So you practice the daily refusal. Refuse the impulse. Refuse the urge to text when you're anxious. Refuse the shortcut when you're tired. Refuse the cheap validation when you feel invisible. Every refusal is a rep. Every rep builds the man who can't be bent. And when life tests you, and it will, you won't rise to the occasion. You will fall back on your code. That is the point. The code makes you reliable. And reliability is power. The world cannot control a man who controls himself. Social power. Respect without noise. Most men think power is volume. They think respect comes from dominance, intimidation, or being the loudest in the room. That's beginner thinking. Real respect is quieter. It's the kind that makes people measure their words around you. It's the kind that changes the temperature when you enter. And it does not come from trying to be feared. It comes from being impossible to move. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this. People don't follow the most emotional man. They follow the most stable one. Stability is authority. A man who is steady under pressure becomes a reference point. That is social power. Here is how you build it. Fewer words, sharper meaning. You stop talking to fill silence. You stop over-explaining to avoid being disliked. You stop arguing for your value. The man who argues is applying for approval. You speak in decisions, not in debates. When you agree, you mean it. When you disagree, you don't apologize for it. You stay calm. You stay direct. You stay respectful. But you do not soften your position to protect someone's comfort. Comfort is not your job. Clarity is. Next, boundaries without drama. Weak men announce boundaries like threats. Strong men enforce boundaries like laws. If someone crosses a line, you don't perform anger. You apply consequence. That consequence can be distance, reduced access, a change in tone, or the end of a conversation. Notice the word apply, not explode, not plead, not lecture. People respect the man who can end a situation cleanly because it shows self-control, and self-control signals danger in the right way. It says, I am not emotional prey. Now understand this, social power is also selection. You don't need a crowd, you need standards. You become selective with who sits near you, who hears your plans, who gets your energy. Not because you're better, because you're disciplined. If you give everyone access, nobody values it. if you give attention to disrespect, you teach disrespect that it works. So you stop rewarding nonsense with your focus. You don't react to every provocation. You don't explain yourself to every critic. You don't respond instantly to every message. You decide the pace. You decide the rhythm. You decide what matters. And when you do speak, you speak with calm certainty. No begging, no proving, no need to win. The man who needs to win every conversation is still chasing status. Your power is that you don't need to be crowned. You behave like a king without asking for a throne. That is respect without noise. And once people feel it, they adjust automatically. War mindset never folds. There will be days when everything in you wants to fold, not because you are weak, but because pressure is designed to bend men. The world applies weight, deadlines, betrayal, temptation, loneliness, humiliation, and it waits to see what shape you take under stress. Most men fold in one of three ways. They collapse into apology, they explode into rage, or they escape into distraction. They beg for peace, they burn the bridge, or they numb themselves until their life goes quiet and small. That is folding. Folding is when your emotions rewrite your strategy. Folding is when you trade long-term power for short-term relief. The man who never folds is not a robot, he is a tactician. He treats his life like a campaign. He expects ambushes. He anticipates storms. He plans for the moment his feelings will lie to him. And when that moment comes, he does not follow his heart. He follows his code. Niccolo Machiavelli's realism wasn't pessimism, it was preparedness. If you understand how humans behave under stress, you stop being surprised, and the less surprised you are, the less you panic. Panic is the beginning of folding. Panic makes you chase, plead, lash out, and reveal your weak spots to anyone watching. So you adopt a war mindset. First, you slow down when pressure rises. Weak men speed up. They send the message. They make the call. They demand an answer. They rush toward closure like it's oxygen. Strong men do the opposite. They create space. They breathe. They let time work for them. Time is a weapon when you are disciplined. Second, you stop seeking instant validation. Under stress, the mind wants reassurance. It wants someone to say, "You're okay." But if you require reassurance to function, you become dependent. You become controllable. So you learn to operate without applause. You do what must be done while your chest is tight. That is how a man becomes unbreakable. Third, you learn controlled aggression, not violent, not reckless, controlled. Aggression becomes fuel, not behavior. You channel it into training, building, studying, earning, executing. You do not spill it onto people as drama. Drama is a confession of weak discipline. A man with war mindset does not argue when he can improve. He does not threaten when he can withdraw. He does not posture when he can progress. He moves, quietly, relentlessly. And here is the deepest test, temptation. The world will offer you easy pleasure when you are tired. It will offer you cheap attention when you feel unseen. It will offer you shortcuts when your patience is thin. Folding often looks like, "I deserve this." That sentence has ruined more men than failure ever did. So your rule becomes brutal. You don't reward weakness with comfort. You reward discipline with results. If you're lonely, you don't chase. You build. If you're angry, you don't explode. You train. If you're confused, you don't beg for clarity. You step back and observe. You make the next move from calm. That is, never folds. Not stubbornness, not ego. Strategic endurance. The ability to remain yourself when the environment tries to rewrite you. And once you can do that, people can't break you. Because they can't rush you, they can't bait you, they can't buy you with crumbs. They can only meet your standard or lose access to you. Machiavelli's code: fear, love, and leverage. Most men live in a childish fantasy. They believe if they are good, the world will be good back. They believe if they are loyal, others will be loyal. They believe if they explain their pain clearly enough, someone will finally treat them with respect. That fantasy is why they keep getting used. Niccolo Machiavelli did not teach men to become cruel. He taught men to become awake. Because in the real world, love without leverage becomes dependency, and kindness without boundaries becomes permission. So understand the code. People respond to incentives. They respond to consequence. They respond to what you tolerate. They don't just listen to your words. They study your behavior to learn what you will accept. This is where weak men fail. They say, "I don't like disrespect," while staying. They say, "I won't tolerate lies," while forgiving. They say, "I'm not always available," while replying in 2 seconds. Their mouth talks standards, but their life tells the truth. They can be pushed, and the world always pushes what can move. Machiavelli asked a harsh question: is it better to be loved or feared? The real answer is more precise than most people repeat. Love is unstable. Love is emotional. Love can flip when moods change, when options appear, when someone gets bored, when someone feels powerful. Fear, real fear, not terror, means respect for consequence. It means people know you will act, not just talk. But you don't need to be a villain to create consequence. You create it through certainty, through follow-through, through a reputation for boundaries. A man with leverage doesn't threaten. He simply has standards that cost people access. Now here is how you become that man without becoming cold and empty. You carry warmth, but you control it. You are kind, but you are not accessible to disrespect. You are loyal, but only to those who have proven they can handle loyalty. You don't pour your best into strangers. You don't give girlfriend benefits to someone who hasn't earned commitment. You don't give friend-level trust to someone who has shown envy. You distribute your energy like a ruler distributes favor, strategically, based on behavior, not based on charm. Leverage is built in 3 places. First, competence. If you are useful, you are respected. If you are replaceable, you are treated casually. So you sharpen your value, your skill, your income, your physical presence, your communication, your ability to solve problems. Competence makes you heavy. Second, scarcity. You become less reachable, not for games, but because you have purpose. Purpose automatically reduces availability, and reduced availability increases value. Third, emotional independence. This is the rarest leverage of all. When you can enjoy someone without needing them, your decisions become clean. You can say no without shaking. You can walk away without hatred. That calm detachment makes people feel something dangerous. They can't control you with affection or withdrawal. And do not mistake this for manipulation. Manipulation is desperation wearing intelligence. The code is simpler. You are fair, but not soft. You listen, but you do not bend your spine to keep peace. You forgive, but you do not forget patterns. You give chances, but not infinite chances. You love, but you do not worship. Worship is submission. A man who worships becomes blind. And blindness is how people get conquered. So you live by one law. Your standards are not negotiable under emotion. Not when you're lonely, not when you're attracted, not when you're bored, not when you're afraid of losing someone. Because the world tests men by offering them moments that feel good, but cost them their frame. If you can't resist those moments, you will always be managed by your cravings. This is Machiavelli's code of strength in modern form. Be warm enough to inspire loyalty, but solid enough to command respect. Be calm enough to think, but decisive enough to act. Be kind enough to be human, but dangerous enough to be unplayable. When you carry that balance, you don't need to chase, you don't need to break, and you don't need to fold. People either meet you at your level, or they fall away, and you remain untouched. The final seal: become untouchable. Now you understand the code, not as a quote, not as a mood, as a way of moving through the world. And this is where most men fail, right at the finish line, because they treat strength like something they turn on when life gets hard. That's not strength, that's a performance. Real strength is identity. It's what you are when nobody is watching. It's what you are when you're tired, when you're tempted, when you're lonely, when someone you want is pulling away, when your ego is screaming to chase, to argue, to prove, to win. The man who becomes untouchable is the man who can hear that screaming and still choose silence, still choose patience, still choose standards. So here is your final seal. You are no longer the man who asks to be picked. You are the man who decides what enters his life. You are no longer controlled by attention, because your attention belongs to your mission. You are no longer controlled by emotion, because your emotions are real, but they don't have voting rights. You are no longer controlled by fear of loss, because you finally understand the deepest truth. If losing someone costs you your self-respect, you didn't lose them, you lost yourself. And that is the only loss that matters. From today forward, you live with 3 laws. Never chase, never break, never fold. Never chase means you do not pursue what disrespects you. You do not run after silence. You do not negotiate with indifference. You do not beg for clarity from people who enjoy your confusion. You let the world reveal itself, and you respond with action, not pleading. Never break means you don't leak your power through reactions. You don't give your enemies the pleasure of seeing you unravel. You don't hand your dignity to a moment of anger. You are calm under pressure, not because you are numb, but because you are disciplined. Never fold means you don't sell your future for relief. You don't betray your standards to escape loneliness. You don't trade your mission for pleasure. You stay steady when others panic. You stay quiet when others perform. You stay focused when others chase distraction. And understand this: becoming untouchable doesn't mean becoming isolated. It means becoming selective. You can still love, you can still connect, you can still be loyal, but you do it from power, not from hunger. You do it from choice, not from fear. The world is full of people who want your softness, but can't respect your strength. They want access to you, but they don't want to rise to your standards. Those people must lose you, not with drama, not with revenge, with consequence, with distance, with absence, because your absence is the language of a man who respects himself. If you want a simple test to know whether you're living this code, ask yourself one question before every big move. Am I doing this from strength or from withdrawal? Withdrawal makes you chase. Withdrawal makes you explain. Withdrawal makes you tolerate crumbs. Strength makes you wait. Strength makes you observe. Strength makes you choose. And the more you choose strength, the more your entire life changes. Without you announcing it, people feel it. They feel it in your pace, in your replies, in your posture, in your boundaries, in your silence. You stop being easy to read, easy to bait, easy to control. Your calm becomes a wall. Now, I want you to mark this moment, not with motivation, with a decision. If this code hit you in the chest, prove it with one action. Comment the phrase, "I am the standard." Not because it sounds good, because it's a contract, a reminder that you are done chasing, done breaking, done folding. Write it so your mind sees it. Write it so your weakness sees it. Write it so your future self remembers who took control. And if you want more of this, more cold truth, more strength psychology, more Machiavellian clarity, then do the obvious. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the next lesson might be the one that changes how the world treats you.